Over the past year, thousands of Americans have been affected by layoffs. According to a new survey, 1 in 3 Americans now have layoff anxiety, and it's affecting Gen Z even worse than other generations. Apparently, 40% of Gen Z workers now have layoff anxiety, and millennials aren't too far off there either. Millennials are experiencing around 33% of layoff anxiety, and rightfully so, with so much information circulating about layoffs in many different industries and many different sectors. It has a lot of workers right now in the United States on edge. In the drop of a dime, it seems like you could just get scheduled with a random call and then be laid off that same morning. And that's what's happening with so many people out there. They're opening their laptops, seeing a random meeting on their Teams or whatever calendar they have, and they basically say, hey, you've been laid off. And these aren't the layoffs of our parents or grandparents. These are these new layoffs. It can all be done with a quick little Zoom call, a quick little Teams call of 5 to 10 minutes. Hey, you're laid off, we're saving some money, goodbye. And I think that's giving so many people anxiety just seeing just how this can happen and how it's already unfolded. I think in real time, we're seeing the evaporation of trust within our institutions in the country. Many people don't really have too much trust in corporations. Now they're not gonna have too much trust in the federal government, even more so now that they could be laid off just like that. And that's exactly what is going on. In this video, we're gonna listen to the opinions of many people out there that have been affected by these huge sweeping layoffs. I wanna talk about what these layoffs mean and what the impact can be in a broad sense. What's the bigger picture here? This past Friday evening, apparently the Department of Education sent out a huge memo to, I think, most employees, basically advocating that they resign and they'll get $25,000. And now let's listen to the opinion of a Department of Education employee.
Education issued a memo on Friday evening. This administration loves sending out memos on Friday and Saturday night. They ain't got no life. The memo said we give you $25,000 if you leave, because if you don't, you're going to get laid off anyway. You're only going to get this $25,000 in cash. And why in cash? Why it's not in like a check or something? This all sounds shady. Anywho, you're going to get this $25,000 in cash if you resign by Monday, 11:59 p.m. Could somebody tell me what the unemployment rate is now? It got to be like 50%. Ain't nobody got no job now.
So basically they sent this bizarre memo to those employees and, offering them $25,000 cash if they resigned in the next few days. That is insanity. Is that the best way to do it? I don't know. Isn't there a protocol or something that they need to follow? Yeah, there is, but either way, this is, boosting the anxiety within layoffs across the entire country. This is only adding to the anxiety. We'll see just how the defunding of the Department of Education will affect education in the country going forward. There's many different ways you can think about it, but either way, people are being affected, and they're being affected now. This has been going on for the past few weeks, and people have been directly affected by it. So if you just click on the news, you'll hear so many different stories of layoffs happening across a lot of bureaucratic departments in the federal government right now. So many agencies seem like they're laying people off left and right. I mean, regardless of your political stance or your views on this, this is directly affecting people. And this has caught a lot of people by surprise. Federal jobs used to be the most cushy and secure jobs out there within these agencies. Now that's not the case, and it's sent a lot of people into anxiety mode. We've had certain agencies that have had a lot of controversial firings and layoffs, one of them being the Department of Veteran Affairs. And in my opinion, this is a horrible move. Why would you lay these folks off knowing that these people provide vital services to veterans and their families? So let's listen to someone that's been directly affected and impacted by these layoffs.
So I'm here at the VA again because this is where I work. Change that. I worked past tense because right now it's 2 o'clock and I just got notified that my position is no longer valid, and so I am going to go turn in my laptop and go home. Again, my performance was not good enough, even though when I talked to my boss, everybody I work with, including my boss, absolutely loved the work I was doing. But it was nice being here, helping out veterans every day, day in and day out, and doing a good job for my fellow patriots. Definitely taking a meat cleaver to the entire federal government. And I know my specific position, I was helping veterans and their families seek end-of-life services, mainly making burial arrangements on their behalf, and actually doing funeral services for them.
There you go. He provided vital services for end-of-life veterans and their families, yet he was let go. He was providing probably one of the most justifiable services you can within the federal government, and it turns out he wasn't safe. This is only going to add to the anxiety. If someone like that can be laid off, then so many more people could be laid off in this sort of sense. I'm just not sure how you can be pro-country, but at the same time defund and lay a bunch of people off from a department so vital to that image of being pro-country.
I got fired.
You thought it was a joke.
Well, I mean, like, I knew it was real, but like, I was like, it was funny because like this poorly executed. I think like it's become pretty obvious, and we've seen with other agencies and the people that were terminated, rehired, so terminated again. My job is to take care of veterans and to help make sure our doctors and nurses and providers can do it. I don't care whose picture's on the wall downstairs.
And if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, those people being employed in that department and that agency really doesn't affect us too much. I mean, our taxes would go down, what, a very, very, very tiny percentage in a year if we didn't have as much funding within that department, which I think is around like 4 or 5% of the entire federal government expenditure. I don't know, but either way, I think it's a horrible move and it's only adding to the fears.
Second time in a year, almost a year to the day, I got laid off again. Twice in a year. Is anyone supposed to do it? And they said, because of the economy is crap right now. So, we're going to lay off a whole bunch of people again. And I already was struggling so hard, actually low-key, to even keep the current roof over my head. And now, I have no idea how I'm even going to get through the next few hours.
Another very anxious person, rightfully so. She doesn't know what she's going to do after being fired. That's a very difficult thing to do, and to be fired again and again has a pretty bad impact on your psyche. It seems like layoffs have just become way too common. 20 years ago, layoffs wouldn't happen this often. It seems like it's happening more frequently, and companies have a shorter leash. And unfortunately, this is going to affect the younger generations even more, considering that they're newer employees, and newer employees don't have as much tenure. They're easier to let go. And it seems like that's exactly what's been going on. So many Gen Zers out there, so many people in their 20s, early 30s have been laid off just like that. And if we're making that the normal thing going forward, I think we have a huge problem within our society. Problem in which we don't value workers. If a company wants to save 5%, then they rather save 5% and cut a bunch of people. I think it's very cutthroat right now. And a lot of people are being caught off guard because we haven't seen these type of layoffs within a good economy. What happens when there's an actual recession, when there's a huge economic downturn? Because right now it seems like there is a downturn, but the data suggests otherwise.
So I think I'm being laid off from my job today. If you couldn't tell by my appearance, I have been crying all morning. I haven't even had my meeting yet, but I got a calendar meeting today from someone I've never spoken to at the company, and
that does impact your position. Today is going to be your last day.
So I think I'm getting laid off today. My boss sent me and my entire team a message a couple days ago to come in this morning in office, bring all of our equipment, and join a meeting at 10 a.m. called discussion. So I got the calendar invite of death, the meeting that is looking like I'm about to be laid off.
So there you go, another young person being affected by these layoffs and getting that notorious random meeting put on their calendar, basically foreshadowing their layoff. And it seems like one of the main things that young people need to do nowadays is they need to be very flexible, very resilient. It seems like that's one of the only ways to combat all these layoffs and all the noise. Get really good at something and then be, very marketable in that thing. It's going to take a lot of thinking outside the box here for people.
21 years old. I've worked in corporate banking for almost, next week it'll be 2 years. So if you guys can tell, I have a little bit of fear on me right now. I have a little bit of a transparent vlog for you guys today. I woke up this morning and there was a meeting on my calendar with somebody I've never met. Immediately started to freak out. I was not intending to go into the office. As you guys can tell, I'm dressed and ready to go into the office right now. My face isn't done. I didn't pack a lunch. I packed my water, grabbed my work bag, ran out the door. I just got laid off.
So there you go, more stories of people getting that notorious meeting invite and then being laid off. I think what makes this sort of layoff cycle a lot different is people have access to TikTok. People can post exactly what's going on, something that you didn't have 30 years ago. So it could seem that these layoffs are happening a lot more than they actually are. But if you take a look at other places like Reddit, you'll just see so many people being affected, sharing their experiences. And take what you will, it definitely is a problem the way that this is happening right now. So for the record, there is no recession right now. The unemployment rate is very low compared to years prior. And it seems like consumer spending is still at normal levels. But what is happening? Why are so many people being laid off, and why does the sentiment around the country seem so poor right now? Well, that's something I kind of want to uncover here. And I think in large part, I think we're kind of in a mirage right now. I want to take a look at this Wall Street Journal article. I think this is a tremendous article, and it really outlines what's going on out there. And it kind of gives us an answer to that question. Why is sentiment so poor right now if all the metrics and all the data say otherwise? Well, in large part here, the top 10%, they're basically holding the entire economy together. They're the ones going out, spending all the money in restaurants. They're the ones spending a lot of money on vacations, spending a lot of money on consumer products. They're the ones that are kind of the glue holding everything together right now. So they kind of overshadow the fact that a lot of people are struggling. These people that are struggling, they might not be spending much money and they're putting it in savings, or they don't have the money to spend. But the rich people, the people in the top 10%, they definitely have a lot of money to spend. And it's kind of messing up the numbers, if you will. This graph, in my opinion, kind of says everything that's going on. So these are the top 10 earners. These are households that make around $250,000 a year or more. They're the ones that now account 49.7% of all spending. But if you go back in time to 1989, that number was way lower. It was at 36%. That means the middle class and the lower class, they were also buying a lot of products and spending a lot of money. Now it seems like we're offset here. There's a huge disparity. I would beg to differ that it's kind of messing up these metrics and kind of like the accuracy of them. It's kind of making them unrealistic. It's creating a huge mirage right now. But if you go to TikTok, if you go to Reddit, if you go to social media, talk to people around the street, talk to your family, talk to friends, talk to anyone really, you'll know that people are struggling. That in itself definitely means something. It's something that a lot of this data, it's not justifying. It's not really putting into numbers or words, I would suppose. And with layoffs and more economic uncertainty facing pretty much middle class employees, it seems like the economy is going to have to rely even more on the top 10%. But the big question is here, how long can this illusion go on? How long can the top 10% basically hold the economy glue together? Once the top 10% stops spending as much as they do, it's going to affect every single industry in the country. It's going to affect every certain job in the United States and the world. Either way, it's going to be interesting just what happens in the next few years and in this year. Overall, I think we're in a very strange and weird time right now. The data suggests that everything is good, everything is normal. But on the other hand, most people would tell you that things aren't so good. People are struggling out there. and that these layoffs are definitely contributing to the overall anxiety of so many Americans. But what do you guys think? Have you been affected by layoffs or know someone that's been affected by layoffs? Do you agree with all these layoffs happening in the federal government? Or do you even think that these layoffs are justifiable? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out and it shines a spotlight on issues like this. Like always, we'll be back with another video. Stay informed out there.